Hi, my name's Colby. I'm with Advantage Plumbing, Heating and Air, and today I'm going to be talking about how to properly clean a drain, the do's and don'ts, and what you can do to verify that the drain has been cleaned correctly. Let's get into it. We got the ring of things. Once I'm done with the job, I'm going to go have to talk to the customer, collect payment and whatnot. I want to make sure that I keep my hands clean and protected because the stuff we're going to be messing with in this drain is rather unpleasant. So today we're going to be cleaning this drain with a Spartan 1065, tried and true machine. A lot of plumbers don't like this machine because it's so heavy, but what I can tell you is if you can't get it with this, then you're probably going to have to call somebody. Most plumbers, when they show up with this, they know what they're doing. So let's get into it. Right here I have ugly gloves. These are what I'm going to wear when I'm running the cable on the machine. These gloves have this like hard rubber flake in it. And basically what it does is it keeps your hands from grabbing on the machine. If I was wearing just these regular rubber gloves, there's a good chance that cable would wrap this glove up and pull it off of my hand, possibly wrapping my hand up also. So it's very important to have these rubber gloves when you're running any cable machine for that matter. Right here, I have a pry bar. This is the clean out. I'm gonna pop this clean out cap off. If yours is kind of being a pain, you can get up underneath it with a pry bar and pull it out like that. Don't lose it. When you're done cleaning the drain, do not leave that uncovered because you don't want debris just falling down in there. Before you ever start running this 1065, what you're gonna wanna do is make sure this foot pedal hose is close to you. If it gets on this side and then this starts rubbing on there, it can wear this hose out. And in the middle, let's say you're wrapped up on some roots and this hose gets worn out, then the air switch isn't gonna work. And if the air switch isn't working, you could be stuck in some roots and not be able to get it back out. Other thing you're gonna wanna look at is the switch over here. There's a forward, reverse, and neutral switch. Neutral makes it so you can spin this drum freely. Forward locks it down. What I'm talking about is when you're hitting the pedal, if it's in forward, it's gonna stop as soon as you let off the pedal because this 1065 has the brake in it. The only time you ever want to run this machine in reverse is if you're going through a really hard spot in the drain or you're running through a trap. Generally, you're not going to be running through a trap on this. So we're going to go ahead and keep it in forward. We're going to keep it in forward for this entire demonstration. You're going to want to make sure your cord is not nicked or frayed. This one has a small nick in the ground wire. This is something we're gonna need to fix. Then you're gonna wanna make sure you got your surge protector. Another quick tip I wanna go over. Do not use this machine in a main sewer line. You're setting yourself up for failure. It doesn't have a blade on it. If you wrap up in some roots, you're not gonna get it back, more than likely. You will have to call a professional. So now I'm gonna walk you through how to run this machine. This right here is called a power feed, okay? The cable that's in this machine, you're gonna wanna know what cable is in the machine. This right here is 0.66 cable. I've got my power feed set to 0.66. This knob up here adds tension to the top of the cable. When it's all the way down, which we don't crank it all the way down, but when it's down, meaning there's tension on the cable, it won't move in and out just by the force of your hand. You have to loosen this up so that it'll go in and out. So what you want to do is you're going to have this torque down when you're running the machine. And this goes forward and reverse and neutral, meaning this is going to make the cable move itself forward without you having to sit there and hand feed it in real hard. A lot of old school machines don't have this power feed and you have to sit there and feed it in. And that can get real tiring on a drain that's 80 to 100 feet long. So the best thing to do is just use that power feed. The distance matters because you don't want too much cable sticking out because if that cable torques up, it could coil up. And if your hand's near it or whatever, it could wrap your hand up and possibly hurt you. Pull this cable out, put it in this drain. I'm gonna feed it in, pass that clean out T. I'm gonna hit the button. I'm gonna crank this down. Now the cable's starting to go in. You can see that movement of the cable. So what's gonna happen here is I'm gonna hit the clog and it'll torque up. One thing you want to be very mindful of when running a drain machine like this sewer line's about 50 foot long. You do not want to run more than 50 foot of cable into a drain that is only 50 foot long. If you go into a city main trying to clean your own drain, let's say it gets stuck in that city main and you can't pull it back out, and you have to call a professional, and let's say they can't pull it back out. I have seen instances where the homeowner is then responsible for digging up and replacing the city's sewer line or getting their cable unstuck from the city sewer by means of excavation, which can be very extensive. The instance that I'm talking about happened in Indiana. I was actually on a shop visit for another plumbing company, and they had a homeowner that had tried cleaning their own drain, and the city engineer came out and said, look, there's nothing we're going to be able to do about this. You're going to be responsible for orchestrating getting this cable unstuck out of our sewer line. And it was about 15 foot deep, and any excavation that's 15 foot deep is not cheap. I want to say that their estimate came in at like $40,000. So what went from a $180 drain cleaning turned into a $40,000 nightmare for this guy. We don't want to see that, so that's why we're doing this video, to help educate. So keep going into it. This drain has no actual clog in it. We're just trying to do it for a demonstration purpose. So now we got about 20 foot of cable in there. The effectiveness of this cable is very good, but there are better ways to clean a drain. Let me show you with this camera here. So here we have one of our older cameras. This isn't one we use every day, but it does the trick. It's a general. Most of the time you can rent these cameras, but I just want to kind of show you what this blade is doing in that drain. A lot of people try to, when we talk about clean your own drains, they're not even considering this option. They're considering a liquid drain cleaner of some sort, or what can I do that doesn't require me to rent equipment because maybe you're not comfortable with this. What I can tell you is the best thing to do is rent this equipment or call somebody with the equipment. You see these cast iron pipes here and how they're pretty heavily corroded. Drano doesn't help that. It actually can sometimes often make it worse. So we want to consider that before we ever put Drano down our drains. Another thing to consider too is boiling hot water is not always the best either, because PVC drains, that's the newest material that they're installing. They can't withstand super high temp water. I've seen instances where they've melted the underground pipe because they put too hot of water into the drain line. You could very easily melt the pipes underneath your kitchen sink, as those are a lot thinner than the pipe that's underground. While it would have to be pretty substantial to melt the pipes underground, it can happen. We're running through a cast iron pipe right now, transitioning to clay. It's a very good transition, smooth. And we're in, this is 4-inch pipe. When we talk about cleaning a sewer line, a basic cleaning is just clearing it, not, you know, running a big power washer jetter down there. That's not a standard cleaning. So what I want to show you here is you can see that this blade is not taking up the entire pipe. It's not wall to wall. It's only going to be able to put a hole into whatever. Let's say that this right here, which is where you would see roots grow in, this is a hub on clay, which is very common. A lot of times the roots grow in where the gaskets have failed and they overtake that pipe. Well, if you look at it, let's say you're looking at a pipe that has been totally overtaken by roots. That cable and the way it spins, let me show you, is only going to put a hole in it about that big. So you're still going to have all the roots on the upper part and the sides. While it may drain, that doesn't mean that the issue is actually fixed. Let me just show you. If you can kind of see, that's kind of a far back view of what that cable's doing in there. And this is as we're going in forward. See, that cable's not really doing anything but trying to cut whatever's in the way. One thing to also keep in mind when you're running this drain machine is you can probably hear the background noise of it running. When you start getting on some heavy roots, the noise that the machine makes is going to be different. You're going to hear the torque and you'll be able to feel it in the cable. Once it starts torquing up really bad, if you're not comfortable, that is when it starts to get dangerous. We're not going to show that in this video, as this is just, you know, simply for showing how to clean a drain properly. But as far as the safety goes, when you're running this, because we want to keep everybody safe, if it starts getting real torquey and you're not comfortable with it, the best thing to do would be to stop and consult with a professional. So I'm going to take this all the way to the city main so I can show you what that is and where it becomes a problem. So right here we're turning down into this right here. We do have some better cameras that are rather more detailed. Right here is where it's turned into the city main. What you don't want to do is you don't want to get wrapped up in here, because this city main right here is probably about, this one's only probably about 7 foot deep, but I can tell you that you don't want to dig that by hand, and you don't want to have to go rent an excavator to do it. So best thing to do is not go into that area. Know how far that is before you ever even start. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull this camera back. All right, so now we got to bring the cable back. I'll put my gloves back on. So what you want to do is put the machine in reverse on the power feed. You're going to hit this button here. You can see that cable coming back. Turning that knob to sort of speed up how fast the cable comes back. I can loosen it, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. As you tighten it, the speed of the cable can go faster. If you loosen it, it's gonna stop coming in as fast. This does not affect speed. All it does is if you put it in neutral, it won't move at all. Put it in reverse, it's just one motion. So the harder it's gripping though on that cable, the faster it'll move. Only because if it's not gripping hard enough, it's causing slippage. One thing to know too, these cables come in 50-foot length. Well, I could have showed you, there's little transition pieces. That's how I know how far in I'm going. If you don't have a machine that shows you length, it can kind of get difficult. One thing you could do is pull your cable out and mark on the cable how far in you would go just by laying it out. All right, so that's on the 1065. The other thing I want to go into is talking about when and where you're going to use this 100 machine. It's a smaller, lighter duty machine that, you know, it's definitely comes in handy, but it has its uses and it's definitely not made to do what that machine does. So this right here, this Spartan 100, this is a commercial grade unit. It's not readily available to just your regular consumer, but it is comparable to Home Depot models, or even, I believe Cobalt makes one. I know Harbor Freight has one. They all can get you the same result, depending on what is causing your clog. But still, anytime you run a machine, even this small one, you need to have these gloves. These are called ugly gloves. Still, while small, needs to be respected, and you need to understand how they work. This bend actually can do quite a bit in a little 2-inch pipe like this. When it's in there spinning, it's scraping on this side and this side. When you're running it, I'm gonna make sure you're running water while also cleaning the drain. Now, if you're clogged, you're good. But with any drain cleaning, really the best thing to do is to be running water. That way you're flushing that stuff out. Because when it's just sitting in the pipe and you're just churning it up, you're just churning it up in place. If you're running water, you're persuading it to go in the direction you want it to actually go. So on this one, say keep the machine closer. You can feed that cable down in there. This machine you gotta feed by hand. This machine's very easy to get tangled up in a drain. So it would be wise to be able to feed it in by hand and really feel what's going on rather than try to go as fast as you can. If you're going to attempt to do this yourself, the best thing to do is take it slow and steady. We've gotten the drain moving really good. Gonna pull that cable back. And that's how you do that. Simple and easy when it's not clogged, of course. But slow and steady with this machine. You really do need to know the length of the line still, even though you're probably pretty far from the main sewer. You really don't want to get this smaller cable wrapped up in your main sewer, because if it gets wrapped up in your main sewer, that can be just as costly. So be mindful when you're trying to clean your own drain. Make sure that you have the proper equipment and the proper safety gear. Just for reps, you find yourself in a situation where your drain's clogged and you're running into this issue, the best thing to do would be to call a professional. If you start getting into a spot that's a little sticky and you don't feel comfortable, definitely call a professional. Advantage Plumbing, Heating and Air, we're right here in Dayton, Ohio. We service Columbus, Dayton, Cincinnati, as well as some of the other north locations like Lima, Ohio. About a 50-mile radius from Dayton. We show up with this equipment every time, ready to do the job. Our guys are trained, they're professionals, so.